All right, Shalom. First, like I send our praise to how about Shem Shai, about Shem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. As you can see, the name of this clip is How 90s Trash TV Became Deadly, Dark Side of the 90s. Right, and Esau used his television um, to influence people, or his media to cast spells on people. So I can look up this word influence. The capacity, it's a noun, the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. And Esau is known for creating people's behaviors, especially throughout history. When they killed off the mother and father and kept the kids and reprogrammed the kids. You know, Gad and Reuben went through that. And then in the schools now, they call it a good documentary to watch is Charlotte Iserbyt, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. And they show you how they got the agent provocateurs in the school, in the children's lives, and how they influence the kids and influence the behavior that the kids do, you know. But yeah, so I'm gonna play this clip and then add some precepts. Because in the times we're living in, your mind should be, on the spirit of the Lord even more than it was from when you first came in. And more each day. So that you won't be deceived by Esau. Let me give a precept. Hold on. All right, this is 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And the TV is one of his number one devices that he used to influence people to do wickedness. Everybody watched. They're gonna start off with or if anything, it's gonna be what the whole clip is about. Um, Not Ricky Lake, but the other guy. And I remember Auntie them always watching this all day, every day. What is it called? This is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. It says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might," meaning the Bible, the scriptures. "Put on the whole armor of Yahweh Shema Shai, that you may be able to stand against the wiles, the tricks of the devil." Because, we're not perfect, but you don't want none of this stuff to influence you. And then, we always get being attacked in the physical and in the spiritual, in our minds. And the best way to run Satan off is by resisting and fighting back with the scriptures, Oh my goodness. Slack. It says, "Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, which are the elites, and the principalities and the powers is the witchcraft. You know, Esau has witches and warlocks chanting and praying and putting spirits on things and influencing people's behavior, you know, all day, every day. It says, and you know, if you're influenced by them, out, and it's not according to righteousness, then that's what's going to get you destroyed. And Esau knows that. It says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness, because there's witchcraft involved, in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of Yahweh Shema Shai, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. You got to do all to stand, man. You got to read the scriptures. You got to put the videos up. You got to deal with the brotherhood, you know. That's doing all to stand. That's how you keep Satan off you, because, you know, in the truth, you're going to be forced to grow, or you're going to be casted out. You can't be lukewarm, you know, and it shouldn't be a forced thing. It should be willingly, you know, but the Lord, when you know, because we're not perfect, and our steps is always guided by the Lord, but whenever you're not doing enough, the Lord going to let you know. And if he don't let you know, then, you know, then you more than likely might not be one of his. But it says, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, peace between you and Yahweh Shema Shai. Above all, taking on the shield of faith, wherein ye shall be able to quench, to put out all the fiery darts of the wicked. Right, so you got to know the truth. You have to know the scriptures. You have to eat the roll, eat the book, and learn how to fight in order to fight, or Satan gonna win the battle. Verse 17, to take on the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High. This is 2 Peter chapter 3, verse. Yeah, I'm gonna hold this one off, but I'm gonna play this clip. And it's a good little documentary, especially for young brothers that's just coming in, because you have to know where you came from to get to where you're going. And one thing that's good to study is, you know, these time periods, so to speak, the 90s, the 60s, the 80s, the 20s, because that's how you learn how everybody was influenced, and then you learn how to counter that, because that's all we're here to do, is teach our people who they are and counter all Esau's wickedness and BS. That's why Corinthians says casting down all imaginations, because for everything that you watch, it's always wickedness in it. It's always contrary to the scriptures 99.9% of the time. So, because Esau can't give you the truth. He might give you tiny bits and pieces of the truth, but he ain't going to be able to give you the real truth, or all the truth, or the important parts of the real truth. So, that's what we are here for, through the spirit of power, Yahweh Shema Shai.
I thought the most outrageous thing I could do in this lifetime was to have sex with 300 men. So I did it.
In the 90s, talk shows are the most provocative thing on television.
You had Oprah, Sally, Phil, Geraldo, myself.
At one time, there were 24 talk shows competing in the marketplace.
You need to find your own, man.
And the most violent.
The fists would start flying, the chairs would start falling.
They literally tore the place apart.
No boundaries go uncrossed.
None delved as low as Jerry Springer.
We were the bad guys.
And that's one of the main reasons why Esau got to go also. And because, you know, I don't know if we're going to get to that part because for lack of time, but dude that was kissing that horse, he married that horse. And even talked about how he had sex with the horse. He ain't going to detail anything, but, you know, he spoke on it. And we know that that's contrary to the scriptures. And Esau passed laws saying that you can do it, which, if you were reading the book, the Bible, you will know that once stuff like that start happening, then this place eventually is going to be destroyed sooner than later.
Until a murder
You rub two sticks together and you get fire.
forces a reckoning.
It literally became a matter of life and death.
It is very hard to forgive you for what you did to me, but I do forgive you.
Daytime talk shows. No other form of media mirrors the American psyche quite like them.
How many women have gone to the grave never saying anything?
Today, people are revealing.
And in the 90s, they flood the airwaves completely.
At one time, there were 24 talk shows competing in the marketplace for essentially the same audience.
Oprah, Sally, Phil, Geraldo, myself.
Mary Lou Henner, Charles Perez, Vanessa somebody that was on the Cosby Show.
We all went after those topics that people had never seen before.
What starts out as a forum to discuss social issues and current events quickly devolves into pure spectacle.
Oprah was like the mom show, and then you had Maury.
When it comes to 3-year-old Kanaya, you are not.
That was You Are Not the Father, or You Are the Father. Jenny Jones was like more of a social issues kind of thing.
You never fit in, shy, bookworm,
Yeah.
sort of.
But when it comes to trash TV, one name says it all.
Jerry Springer was the show where everybody would fight.
Obviously, she's not doing something right in the bedroom where he would become big.
That was the fighting show. And that's kind of what people would tune in for, and it's definitely what people would go to tapings of the show to see.
None delved as low as Jerry Springer.
Here she is, Mom!
He was the absolute lowest of the low. I'm Robert Feeder. I'm a journalist who's been covering the media in Chicago for more than 40 years. The irony is that there was a point at which the Jerry Springer Show was the #1 talk show in daytime television. It actually beat Oprah Winfrey at its peak. And yet, it was a talk show where there was very little talking. People didn't talk. It was about the conflict and the Jerry. I think most people were watching it and saying, who are these people?
The guests, especially on a show like Jerry Springer, they want to feel like they're leaving a mark on the world. And, unless they become a serial killer or sprout two heads, how are they going to get on television?
You say you've been a dog. Who have you been a dog with? Her best friend.
My name is Laura Grindstaff. I'm a professor of sociology at UC Davis, and I'm the author of a book titled The Money Shot, Trash, Class, and the Making of TV Talk Shows.
She also once worked on the Jerry Springer Show.
I think most people who were in college in the 90s watched at least some Jerry Springer.
Me and my roommates would watch Jerry Springer and just smoke terrible dirt weed all the time. My name is Katie Reif, and my first job out of college was as an associate producer on the Jerry Springer Show. I think it was the car crash quality of it, the kind of gawking at a car crash thing.
Make it interesting with the sound off. Because a lot of people are just flipping through the TV. You hit the Jerry Springer Show, it's going to make them want to stop. I'm Richard Dominic, and At one time, I was the executive producer of The Jerry Springer Show. Can we back up a little bit?
In 1991, Dominic is first hired to be just one of Jerry Springer's half-dozen producers.
When I first started on Springer in Cincinnati, I didn't know what to expect. I knew he was a newscaster, and he won Emmy Awards for being the most popular newscaster in Cincinnati. And then all of a sudden, this guy came in, and he just looked like a wreck. His hair was all messed up, and he had on a sweater that was too big, and he had sneakers on and jeans, and we started talking and making jokes, and he sat down, he lit a cigar, and I was a cigar smoker, and we just hit it off right away.
What a lot of people don't remember about Jerry Springer is that Jerry Springer was the mayor of Cincinnati who literally had to step down from office because he got caught paying a prostitute with a check.
He had written a check to a sex worker, and so he was traced back to that sex worker, and, so he had a bit of a scandalous past himself, even when he was a politician, and so people knew him before the Jerry Springer Show.
If you just joined us, this is our first show, and we're putting together people who haven't seen each other for 35 years.
Back before I took over the show, when it was a very serious program, the people running the show, Multimedia Entertainment, they go over step by step, word for word, what they wanted him to say. And he's dressed in a banker suit, and he's got these big, stupid glasses on, like Larry King, those big things. And his hair was all slicked back, and he looked so uncomfortable. It was like they had programmed, or were trying to program a robot, because in their head, he was Phil Donahue.
Springer launched his talk show as a sort of Phil Donahue light.
People often think about the origins of talk shows as sort of beginning with Phil Donahue. He really innovated this format. He explored reproductive rights, child custody issues, equal pay. He had the silly moments on there too, but he tended to mix the political, the personal, and entertainment together in a kind of package that was more socially conscious than you would sort of see coming up afterwards.
This audience wants in here.
Phil Donahue, on one occasion, to try to contain an unruly audience member who started yelling out questions of the audience, Phil Donahue literally stepped across a light grid and put a microphone in a person's mouth. That's what started the audience getting an opportunity to speak back.
Phil Donahue, that's all I ever heard. Phil Donahue. And I was so tired of hearing Phil Donahue's name. To the people running the Jerry Springer Show, he was a god to them. And Jerry didn't want to be the next Phil Donahue. I just thought, my God, this isn't right. This is not the guy. The guy who I met upstairs on the 6th floor, he's a TV guy. People are going to like that guy. They're not going to like this guy.
Jerry Springer was going to be a serious talk show host. One of the famous lines he said at that time was, "You won't see me dancing with the Chippendale dancers." Well, that turned out to be quite ironic, since that would have been mild compared to what the show eventually evolved into.
If you go back and look at the original Jerry Springer Show, the original Jerry Springer Show was as calm as Phil Donahue. And even calmer than my show.
We have a nice surprise for you today, okay? What? You are going to meet your daughter, Sandy, who you have not seen in 35 years. Sandy?
When I think back at that first season in Cincinnati, in my opinion, it was just dreadful. Boring, and he had 1,000,001 cards in his hands, and it wasn't working, and it was obvious it wasn't going to work.
For its second season, Multimedia Entertainment and NBC-owned studios team up and relocate the Springer Show from Cincinnati to Chicago. The move does little to boost their ratings, but for Richard Dominic, it means a promotion to executive producer.
I was asked to take over the show. So I said, yeah, of course, absolutely. And they said, we're going to cancel the show in November. And this was April. It was like, yeah. So that's when we decided, hey, let's turn the tables on everybody and let's keep the show on the air. And if we could stick it to multimedia and we can make this work and we can stay on the air past November, great. It'll be a battle won.
To turn those tables, the Jerry Springer Show will take its cue from one of the most brutal episodes of television ever aired.
There was this renaissance of young...
So like, I'm going to hit that one more time.
The move does little to boost their ratings, but for Richard Dominic, it means a promotion to executive producer.
I was asked to take over the show. So I said, yeah, of course, absolutely. And they said, we're going to cancel the show in November. And this was April. It was like, yeah. So that's when we decided, hey, let's turn the tables on everybody and let's keep the show on the air. And if we could stick it to multimedia and we can make this work and we can stay on the air past November, great. It'll be a battle won.
To turn those tables, the Jerry Springer Show will take its cue from one of the most brutal episodes of television ever aired.
There was this renaissance of young Hollywood people.
Like everyone was sneezing fame all over each other.
From the network that brought you Dark Side of the Ring and Dark Side of Football, now it's time to unravel the 90s. The era that brought us grunge, reinvented hip-hop, and gave birth to the internet.
We're all doing what we're supposed to do, and this is how it ends.
Dark Side of the 90s. Series premiere Thursday at 10 on Vice.
In the 90s, the Jerry Springer Show will evolve into a spectacle of violence and human indignity. But that inspiration actually starts with this guy.
Let me tell you the story of Geraldo Rivera. In 1986, Geraldo Rivera's career had come to a standstill. He had been a high-profile correspondent for ABC News when Tribune Entertainment approached him about doing a live special from the Lexington Hotel in Chicago to uncover whatever hidden treasures or secrets were.
Right, so all this basically stating is in the 90s what type of witchcraft they was promoting during that time. That's it. When you go into Medium, which goes into the word what's the word? Or media. Shalakia. When you go into the word media, that goes into the word medium. And when you're dealing in witchcraft, the medium is the person that communicates with the spirits. And then, it goes deeper than that. Eventually, them spirits get summoned and put on the people. And this was the way that they were doing it. So this is an excellent watch. It's good to understand the witchcraft part about it, because that's the spiritual forces that you are facing. How about I'll be able to put a lesson on that media. When I first came into the truth, we went into this. But it's always good to keep going into it because everything is changing and etc. So I'm going to grab these precepts. This is Micah chapter 2. Micah chapter 2 verse 1. Woe, meaning destruction, to them that devise iniquity, and this is iniquity that Esau is devising, and work evil upon their beds when the morning is light. They practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Right? Esau has the power to, and they control the media, from the news outlets to the TV shows, etc. They control what you watch on your TV. They own it all, and if they don't own it all, they know how to put a stop to some stuff that they don't want out there. Hence the reason why they taking brothers' videos down, etc. It says, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and that's speaking on us, and the heathen nations. They got their fields and lands and stuff taken away too. But we the number one topic, because we the people who the book was written for, and houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And this is how they've been oppressing us with all this witchcraft, because our women, children, fathers, friends, etc. are influenced by this BS. And you wonder why they be always like tripping out and acting extra aggressive or weird, or just extra emotional, because they be watching things like this, man. And this is Esau shaping and creating a mentality for you. You don't have your own mind. You don't even know how to think, outside the box of, like being free, etc., man. It said, therefore, thus said the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall you go haughtily, for the time is evil. Right, man. Eventually Esau is going to be eventually America is going to be destroyed, and at least going to be put into captivity, man. They're not getting away with this wickedness, man. It's like I wish I had more time to really go into it, but this is a good watch. This Wisdom of Solomon 4:12 and the Apocrypha. For you young brothers that don't have the Apocrypha, you can order it off Barnes & Nobles or Amazon, Apocrypha. It's spelled APOCRYPHA, Authorized King James Version, the KJV Apocrypha. It's a red book. You might find it in other colors, or you can get the 1611 Bible. But this is in the Apocrypha, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 4 verse 12. It says, for the bewitching, and when you look up that word bewitching, all it means is the casting a spell, to cast a spell on a person. And that's what happens when you watch TV. It says, of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest, and the wandering of concupiscence, lust, or evil lust, because our people, it says, of concupiscence doth undermine the simple mind. Right? Our people eventually go lusting after this type of stuff, and acting it out. And that's because they have simple minds, and that simplicity is what's getting them destroyed and into all type of BS. So with that being said, call Allah Yahweh Shema Shai, double honor to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. Shalom.